Good morning. Just confirm from your end whether I am audible or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Also confirm whether this now one screen where some written material is there. Writing, I have written something that is visible to you.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. What we do, we will wait for 1 or 2 minutes. This is very important topic today. I wish that nobody should miss this. It's very important topic today, but the attendance is very low. Okay, so we will start. We are going to start the next unit, design of shaft. Every now and then in the entire engineering, mechanical engineering career, you have to design the shaft very frequently. Even in this curriculum also, next semester, in final year, whenever the subject of design will be there you have to design the shaft many times. And since the topic is from this first semester, nobody will teach you there how to design the shaft because it will be assumed that you already know this how to design the shaft. And therefore it is very important. Now how to start the design of shaft? If we do not bother at this stage the material required for the shaft or manufacturing conditions, how to manufacture this shaft, what is factor of safety, etc. If we set aside these things, the remaining thing only is in the design of shaft is to find out the diameter of shaft. As I said, design is a wide spectrum now. It consists of many things. But if we limit our design in this shaft, if we time being set aside these manufacturing considerations, material, etc., then remaining job in the design of shaft is only to understand the loading and to find out the diameter of shaft to support this loading. Therefore, we start from the identifying different cases when we think about the design of shaft numericals or design of shaft problems. A very simple arrangement. Can you see the screen where something written on red with the red pen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the simplest loading you can say is say pure tensile load or pure compressive load. Now here the word pure, this means that only tensile load, no other load is there. So pure tensile load, I mean that only tensile load, there is no other load. Or when I say pure compressive load, only compressive load, there is no other load. This is the meaning of pure word here. Now this is what figure I have drawn is a simple shaft subjected to tensile load. Let us say the tensile load is suppose this load is P load, tensile load is P. Or you can consider a case of compressive load. This is compressive load again P. You can have two cases. Either you may be asked to design a solid shaft or a hollow shaft. In both cases, equation remains only same. The moment you say that the shaft is subjected to tensile load, immediately you will write the equation for tensile stress. So tensile stress equation is equal to force by cross section area. Cross section area is pi by 4 d square because d is diameter of the shaft. So here on the left hand side, what you see is the sigma t is equal to p upon pi by 4 d square. Now, if d is now unknown, as is the case in the pure design problem, wherein you have to find diameter of the shaft, d remains unknown. P will be known because it's a loading. Loading must be known. What you do? Equate the sigma t on the left hand side to permissible. So I'll say this I am equating to permissible load, permissible tensile stress. Who will give permissible? Permissible is given by SYT by factor. Now by this time you must be very much conversant with this. Sigma t permissible is equal to SYT by factor of safety. Equal to this right hand side p upon pi by 4 d square. Unknown remains only d. You can find out the value of d, and that will be a design of shaft. That is the finding out the diameter of the shaft. Here, if it is a hollow shaft on the right hand side, I have mentioned a case of hollow shaft. If it is a hollow shaft, then again the force, the equation remains same. Sigma t is equal to force by cross section area, but cross section area is now pi by 4 do square minus di square, where do is the outer diameter, di is the inner diameter. As usual, you will equate this sigma t to sigma t permissible. Permissible stress is given by SYT by a factor of safety. So on the right hand side, what remains is again p upon pi by 4 do square minus di square. Now, if you observe it, there are two unknowns, do and di both. So that's why you cannot solve the problem. And therefore, there must be some relation given between the do and di. Maybe do by di is equal to 2 or something like this. If the relation is known to us, or if I assume this relationship is not known, then these two unknowns will be converted into one unknown, and you can find out the value of the other remaining unknown, do or di. So this is a simple case how to design a shaft subjected to pure tensile load or pure compressive load. Another way that you may get a condition where there is only bending moment, that is subjected to only bending moment, or it's a pure bending moment. Pure word again here means the only bending moment. So it's a pure bending moment. This can be a simplest example one can think of. Simplest loading configuration one can think of when it is subjected to pure bending moment. This is say some load P, right? And maybe these are some support ends, and you remove the supports, and you have to put the reactions. Maybe this is a suppose some A end, this is some B end, and this is some C end. I can say this is equal to Ra, this is some Rc reaction at C, and this is nothing but a force at P. If this is a loading diagram, if I ask you that what is the loading on this shaft, I will say that the shaft is subjected to bending moment. Of course, that bending moment is varying from location to location. Suppose if I draw this again, that same loading, here applied force, and here there are, say, suppose two reactions at the two ends. You always say that you can always draw the bending moment diagram, and bending moment diagram in this case will be something like this. I hope this is all you know. How? Bending moment at this point is equal to 0, bending moment at this point is equal to 0, and now bending moment at any section in between these two, if you want to find out, say here, then it will be equal to this force into this much distance. So it's purely a function of distance, and distance is varying from this end to up to the center. If I take this up to center, that's why it will be varying from this the end to the some peak value, and again dropping down to 0 because here bending moment is 0. This is, I don't say give more time to explain this, because this is all fundamental things from the strength of material, you know. The point is that this cross section, every cross section, it means that if you take a cross section here, or if you take cross section here, every cross section is subjected to bending moment. Therefore, while picking out the bending moment, I will pick that bending moment which will be maximum. So therefore, now if I ask you that what is a maximum bending moment this cross section is experiencing, your answer should be that the cross section which is at the center cross section is subjected to maximum bending moment, and that maximum bending moment value is given by this force into this much distance. This should be your answer, right? Okay, so now it means that the cross section is subjected to varying bending moment, and I can find out by drawing the bending moment diagram, I can find out what is that maximum, what is that value of bending moment which is maximum. I can surely find out this, right? So it means that the shaft cross sections are subjected to varying bending moments, and I can find out one bending moment which will be maximum. So accordingly, I can write some equations which you also know and find out the maximum bending moment. Now, I want to bring to your attention to this one, which equation which you already used again in the strength of material. The equation is something like this. M upon I, equation, if you remember again, M upon I is equal to sigma B upon Y is equal to some E by R. This equation is called as flexural formula, and this formula you must have seen or used in many numericals in the strength of materials. If you don't remember now that this is equation M upon I is equal to sigma B by Y, which is used to find out the bending moment, or it gives some relation between the bending moment, bending stress, I, that is moment of inertia, and Y, that is distance between the neutral fiber and the outermost fiber. If I extract, say, only this much part, if I extract only this much part from this, M upon I is equal to sigma B by Y, right? M upon I is equal to sigma B by Y. So equation becomes sigma B is equal to M upon I by Y. And this also we are using many times. I by Y, so I will take Y here, I by Y. Where if now this becomes my generalized equation to find out the bending stress, now I is equal to, this I is equal to pi by 64 e to the power 4 if it is a solid shaft, and this I becomes pi by 64 do raised to power 4 minus dy raised to power 4 if it is a hollow shaft. Y becomes distance between the outermost fiber to neutral fiber. Y becomes d here. Y is equal to d in solid shaft, and y is equal to do by 2. Sorry, y is equal to d by 2 in solid shaft, and in hollow shaft it becomes do by 2. So therefore, if I put these equations here, what I get, sigma b is equal to m upon I. I is now, in case of solid shaft, pi by 64 d to the power 4 into y. Y is my d by 2. Whereas in the hollow shaft, it becomes m upon pi by 64 do raised to power 4 minus dy raised to power 4 into y. Y is now do by 2. Therefore, in case of solid shaft, sigma b is equal to, now you can see, do some simplification. One d will get cancelled with this, so here it remains d cube. This is d by 2, this is 64. 64 will be in the numerator, 2 will be in the denominator, so we can get cancel it. What remains, this is very simple, you can do it, no problem, I am very sure. It becomes 32 times m divided by pi d cube. This way you get a simplification. So sigma b is equal to 32 m upon pi d cube in case of solid shaft. And in case of hollow shaft, what you get, again 2 and 64 will get cancelled, remaining is 32 here. 32 will be in numerator. So what you get is 32 m, right? Du will not get cancelled immediately. So what I do instead of that, I'll say pi. I let this do raised to power 4 minus di raised to power 4 as it is, and this is do as it is. Now, just a minute. Okay, now what I can do, some arrangement here, some manipulation. This is 32 m divided by pi as it is. Now what I do, I'll take some common. I'll take some common. Common is d raised to power 4. Inside bracket remains 1 minus di raised to power 4 divided by d raised to power 4. This will be in bracket. If I take d raised to power 4 in outside the bracket. And this do is now as it is. Now one do will get cancelled with this one. This remains do cube. Okay, and if I put this some another notation, c is equal to di to do ratio, then this becomes 32 m upon pi do cube now, because one do will cancel. Inside the bracket 1 minus this di by do, I put it as c. That's why this becomes c raised to power 4. Okay. Okay. What I do now, if you come, so what you have to note here, that if it is a hollow shaft, then bending stress is equal to sigma b is equal to 32 m upon pi do cube into 1 minus c to the power 4. And if it is a solid shaft, sigma b is equal to pi by 32 m upon pi d cube. So now these two things actually you can just remember, there is some similarity between these two. One is a solid shaft equation and another is the hollow shaft equation. You can see some similarity between these two. If you remember, sigma b is equal to 32 m upon pi d cube for hollow shaft. Just here to put one multiplication factor as 1 minus 3 to the power 4, you get 32 m upon pi do now, and multiplication factor is 1 minus 3 to the power 4, you get a equation for, this is for solid and this is for hollow. This way you can remember it, equation for hollow shaft, equation for the solid shaft. Now, if it is your problem now, and if you want to find out, if you first identified that the loading is in such a way that the shaft is subjected to only bending moment, immediately you can write down the equation for bending moment. Sigma b is equal to 32 m upon pi d cube. M is only thing, M you have to find out, but M, this M is a maximum M. Wherever maximum M is there in the shaft, because as I told you that shaft is subjected to varying amount of bending moment from one section to other sections. So you have to pick a maximum bending moment. For that, you have to find out the bending moment diagrams. So whatever knowledge we already know from strength of material, how to find the bending moment diagrams. There, from that knowledge, you can find out the bending moment diagram, and you can pick a maximum bending moment. And that maximum bending moment, if you put into this equation, this becomes now known. Sigma b you equate to permissible. No need to again say that sigma b permissible is equal to sigma t permissible, which is equal to SYT by a factor of safety. Therefore, in the entire equation, unknown becomes only d. You can find out the value of d. So what we have seen so far? We have seen one general procedure to find out a shaft diameter if the shaft is subjected to pure bending moment. Now another case, if suppose there is only torsional moment, there is only a torsional moment, that is, this is some shaft and subjected to some pure means again a only torsional moment. So this is torsional moment is say MT. T for torsion, because this T we are using somewhere as a tension. That's why we'll not use this T notation for torsion. Okay, instead of that we'll use the MT for torsion, and that's why if we put T for torsion, MT for torsional moment, in these cases, earlier cases, we put suffix B for the bending moment. So hereafter I'll use MB for bending moment and MT for the torsional moment. So now torsional moment MT. Again, I want you to take a note of this equation, which again you are aware of, which was there in the strength of materials. MT upon J, you must have read it earlier, T by J, but T I am replacing by T, torque is replaced here by notation, another notation MT. MT by J is equal to tau by R is equal to d theta by L. This again you are aware of. Wherein MT is torsional moment, J is polar moment of inertia, tau is shear stress, R is a radius. Which radius? If suppose if I draw the other view of this, which is a circle, right? So if this is subjected to some torsion, then each material on each radii, this radius is different than this radius is different than this radius. Okay, the material at each radius will experience different amount of stress. Okay, so if you want to find out a maximum stress, let me again tell you that if you draw a stress distribution diagram of this central fiber is subjected to 0 amount of stress, and as you go from the center to the periphery, you get a linear increase in the value of the stress. So this is outermost fiber is subjected to maximum amount of shear stress, whereas innermost or whereas the central fiber is subjected to zero amount of stress. And therefore, this R means this R. When you put this R is where you want to find out the stress. If you want to find out the stress somewhere here, this becomes my R. If you want to find out the suppose stress some here, this becomes my R. Obviously, we are always interested in getting the maximum stress, and maximum stress is at the outermost fiber. That's why this R is equal to always capital R, that is the outer radius. But in general, this is equal to mt upon J is equal to tau by R is equal to G theta by L. G is called as a modulus of rigidity. Theta is the angular deflection. L is the length of shaft which is subjected to some torsional moment. Time being, what I do? Time being, we will concentrate on these two terms of this equation. Mt upon J is equal to tau by R. If we use this equation, these two terms of this equation, what do you get? We get now for a solid shaft, torsional moment will be known to you. If it is not known directly, there will be some provision in there is some data given through which you can find out the torque. We'll see numericals where we can, if the torque is not given directly, what else will be given to you so that you can find out the value of torque. So torque is not a problem for us. Torque we can find out. J for a solid shaft. J for a solid shaft is equal to what? This is pi by 32 e raised to power 4 is a polar moment of inertia for a solid shaft. It's the same thing if I write for a hollow shaft, this J will be equal to pi by 32 dO raised to power 4 minus di raised to power 4. Right? And R will be equal to, in solid shaft, will be equal to d by 2, whereas in the hollow shaft, R will be equal to dO by 2. Putting this value of J and R into this first two terms of the equation which we have extracted, putting the value of J and R in both cases, in solid shaft and in hollow shaft, what you get here, I'll first rewrite the equation in this form. Tau is equal to mt upon J by R. So this is equal to mt upon J is now pi by 32 d raised to power 4 into R. R is equal to d by 2, diameter by 2, right? So what you get? Is equal to tau. So equal to 32 will be in the numerator, 2 will be in the denominator. You can cancel it. 2 ones are 2, 2 16 are 32. What you get after simplification? You get 16 torque upon pi d cube, right? Is equal to tau. So what do you get? Since the shaft is subjected to torsional moment, because we have taken that case for our consideration, shaft is subjected to torsional moment. The moment we say that the torque is subjected to torsional moment, immediately something should be in your mind that it is very clear. It should be in your mind that the shaft is subject to torsional stress. Sorry, or shear stress rather. Shear stress, to be specific, shear stress, torsional shear stress. An equation of the torsional shear stress tau is equal to 16 mt upon pi d cube, because it's a circular shaft. For a hollow shaft, same thing. If you want to write down, you get tau is equal to mt upon J by R. Again, it is equal to mt upon J. I'll put pi by 32 do raised to power 4 minus di raised to power 4 into this r is now do by 2, right? For my simplification to arrive at a desirable equation, what I do, I'll put this 32 will get cancelled with this 2. It remains 16 here. 16 will be in the numerator. You can do this simplification process. It's very easy. What you get is 16 mt upon pi. This do will be as it is only because only 2 is cancelled. Do is still there. And again, for some purpose, that is to arrive at a desirable equation, I am extracting or taking common do raised to power 4. Bracket inside this will be 1 minus di raised to power 4 divided by do raised to power 4. C is another parameter I introduced. I said that C is di by do. So this term becomes c raised to power 4. 1 do will get cancelled. So remaining is do cube in the denominator. But finally, what I should get 16 mt, that is pi mt upon pi do cube 1 minus c to the power 4. Please remember, this is the equation for a torsional shear stress for a hollow circular shaft subjected to only torque. These two things are little comparable. It will help you to remember that if you remember a equation for a solid shaft, just put 1 minus c to the power 4 and d is replaced by do, you get an equation for a hollow shaft. In general, if we summarize this, what we have seen so far, we have seen the sigma t for a solid shaft is equal to pi by 4 d square. Sigma t for a hollow shaft is equal to pi by 4 d, sorry, what I did, p upon pi by 4 d square. And sigma t for a hollow shaft is equal to p upon pi by 4 do square minus di square. If this is the first case when the shaft is subject to pure tension. If it is pure compression, you just replace the suffix t by c. If it is a pure bending moment, we have seen that for a bending moment equation we get 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube is the equation. So hereafter we will not derive this equation. Hereafter we use this equation only. That when there is a circular shaft, a solid circular shaft subjected to only bending moment, we know there will be a sigma b. The sigma b is given by 32 mb upon pi d cube. There mb is a maximum bending moment that can occur in the entire length of the shaft, and that you have to find out by some methods, other methods. But we will see in the numerical how to find out that. This is for, of course, this is for a solid shaft. If it is a hollow shaft, it is hollow shaft. But what change you will do? Sigma b is equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi do cube 1 minus c to the power 4, where c is a ratio of di to do. This is for what? A shaft subjected to pure bending moment. Now third case, a shaft subjected to pure torsional moment. Sigma t is equal to cube. This is for a solid shaft. And if it is for a hollow shaft, sigma, sorry, not sigma t, sorry, something is wrong. I mean to say tau. that is torsional shear stress. Tau is equal to 16 torque divided by pi dV cube 1 minus c to the power 4. Yes, c is again ratio of di to do. These equations you have to use. So hereafter we use the direct equations. Now, important case, a third important case, next important case is now a shaft subjected to combined bending moment. Combined. So now I am talking about one case where there is a combined bending moment and torsional moment. Okay. So, okay, next case is now combined, and this is a very important case. Combined bending moment and the torsional moment. It means there is existence of sigma b, also existence of tau. Both are there, right? Now, here we'll neglect something, that how to find the bending moment, how to find torsional moment. Known. And with this, we'll say that sigma b is, we know that if we independently find out the sigma b, it will be equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube. And if I independently find out the shear stress, torsional shear stress, we know it is equal to 16 torque upon pi d cube. This we know now. And now the case is combined bending moment, torsional moment. It means combined sigma b and torsional stress. Let me tell you here that whenever any section is subjected to combined stress, one stress is sigma b, which is called as a normal stress, and other stress is a shear stress, combined stresses, then you must have heard already that if you have got some combination, you will go for sigma 1 and the tau max, which are principal stresses, which is found out by, I write the generalized equation. Generalized equation I'm writing because so that you can recall the equation. You must have written somewhere this, you must have used this somewhere. Principal stress is sigma 1 is equal to sigma x by 2 plus minus under root sigma x by 2 whole square plus tau square. This equation you must have used before this, right? And similarly, you must have used another equation, tau max is equal to sigma x by 2 whole square plus tau square. Why these equations are required? These equations are required when the two different natures of stresses are acting simultaneously. One is the normal stress, which is a bending stress here, and another is the shear stress. So if we apply the equation here, in our case, sigma x is actually equal to sigma b because it's a bending stress. That's why it's a sigma b divided by 2 plus minus. I will not use minus because if I put the minus, less value of stress, I'm not interested. I'm interested only in getting the what is the maximum state that can likely be there. So minus is not, will not play a role for us. But here it will be now sigma b by 2 whole square plus tau square. And now we know that sigma b, just now we found out that it is equal to 32 mb upon pi d cube plus, here again same thing, 32 mb upon pi d cube, this is whole square, plus tau square. Tau is now 16 torque upon pi d cube, we are just derived it, pi d cube, again this is whole square, again this is whole square. Now if you see this, no, something is wrong. What wrong is there? That I did not put still by 2. This is only sigma b term. So sigma b divided by 2. And this is again sigma b divided by 2 whole square. I correct myself. This thing. And this is 16 mt upon pi d cube. So what you get? This division of 2 will get cancelled. This 2 will cancel. Remaining is what? Remaining is now 16 mb upon pi d cube plus 16 mb upon pi d cube, because there was divided by 2 square plus 16 mb, this term as it is, divided by pi d cube whole square. Now if I take a common, this is all, see, if you see this all is going for sigma 1. On the left hand side you get sigma 1. Now what I do, I can take some common, and common is 16 upon pi d cube. Okay, so what I do, 16 upon pi d cube, if I take common, what I can get it, here I will get mb plus, and here I will get mb square plus mt square, this thing, right? So now what is the use of this equation? Whenever there is a combined bending moment and torsional moment, I should not find out only sigma b and only torsional stress, but rather I should use this equation for principal stresses and find out the sigma 1. And then now this sigma 1 can be equated to permissible. Permissible is given by SYT, by factor of safety. On the right hand side all remains same equation, but MB you know, because there will be some arrangement, there will be some loadings given so that you can find out the maximum moment that I can put here. So this will be known for me. So MB will be known for me. MT is a load, torsional load will be again known for me. In the entire, this SYT is a material property, that's why it will be known to you. Factor of safety will be either you will be choosing or will be given, so it will be known to you. In the entire equation, you can find out the D remains unknown. You can find out the value of D. If you see what we are done, we found out a procedure. We established a procedure to find out the diameter of shaft if the shaft is subjected to bending moment as well as torsional moment combined. Okay. This sigma 1 equation, if you compare with this sigma 1, mind well, this sigma 1 equation is for what? For combined bending and torsional moment equation. If I compare this equation with a equation sigma b is equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube. This equation is for only bending moment. That is, a shaft is subjected to only bending moment. And this sigma 1 equation is the equation for shaft is subjected to combined bending moment and torsional moment. Therefore, if you compare this, what you will notice that these two equations are a little comparable. In which sense, if I replace this, see here, sigma b, I am putting this sigma b in the form which I am writing now. Sigma b is equal to 32. What I do? I write 16. 16 upon pi d cube. Here if I write mb plus mb square plus mp square and divided by 2. If I write this equation is nothing but an equation of sigma 1. Just compare it. No, something is wrong. Okay, so this actually what I want to make you know that I want to make it this way. I want to make it comparable. So what I do, I do little changes. I'll say this is equal to, I rub it first. Okay, what I want to write here, as sigma 1 is equal to sigma 1 is equal to 32. This way, right? Now, I hope this will be clear to you now. What I do, if I suppose 2 will get cancelled with this 16, right? So ultimately, the right hand side of this equation will be same as this equation. What I mean to say that this equation and these two equations are same, right? Can you see this? These two equations are same. But now this is comparable with a case when there is only bending moment. Sigma b is equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube. These two are comparable. Comparable in the sense that this mb is replaced by this term. That is why this term is also called as equivalent bending moment. It's called as equivalent bending moment. I'll just give you in another minute what is the role of this, what is the meaning of the equivalent bending moment. If suppose only bending moment is there, I'll write sigma b is equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube. There is no doubt now in your mind. If only bending moment is there, sigma b is equal to 32 bending moment divided by pi d cube. And if combined bending and torsion is there, then I should write sigma 1 is equal to 32 m equivalent divided by pi d cube, where this equivalent bending moment is equal to mb plus mb square plus mp square divided by 2. If I put this here, you get the same sigma 1 equation. Okay, so this is one way to remember it. If it is for only bending moment, this equation. If it is for only torsion and bending combined, this equation. Only thing that ME is now this one. This is called as a equivalent bending moment. Equivalent says why it is equivalent? Because you are putting it in the fashion of only bending moment equation. That's why it is equivalent bending moment. Okay. Now, this is, see, when we started the discussion of this combined bending moment and torsional moment, we started with this, that if there is existence of sigma b and tau both, normal stress and shear stress both, you always go for sigma 1 and tau max. So sigma 1 we have seen now, tau max is still remaining. But now it is very clear. What I do to get it tau max? Sigma x I'll put as sigma b, and sigma b is 32 mb upon pi d cube divided by 2 as it is. This is in the back, in the root, square plus this is 16 mt upon pi d cube square. Again, this divided by 2 will get cancelled. Remaining is numerator 16. So again, if I simplify it, what I should get? I should get inside, I can take it again a common outside the square root. What I get? 16 upon pi d cube, and inside the square root remains then mb square plus mp square. And what this is? This is my tau max. Okay. So now this is of course a maximum bending moment. I told you that there is some procedure to find out the maximum bending moment. That is to find out the bending moment diagram and pick the maximum one, so that you know all. We'll see this exercise. Torsion moment one can find out. Okay. This is known. It means this thing tau max you can equate to permissible tau max, permissible tau. Permissible tau is given by, we have used this in many times earlier. Permissible tau max is given by 0.5 times SYT by factor of safety. So SYT is known, it means this is known, equal to, on the right hand side everything is known except D. You can find out the value of D. So this is the equation to find out a diameter of shaft if it is subjected to combined bending and torsional moment. But there are two equations. One is sigma 1, one is tau max. Here also you can find out the value of D. By this equation also you can find out the value of D. These two, if are different, pick a maximum value out of these two, and that will be your proposed recommended diameter of the shaft for the given loading. Right? I hope I tried to make it clear. If few things are still not clear, we'll do some exercise tomorrow, and from that you can find out the diameter of shaft. Give me 1 more minute to give attendance. Meantime, if you have some query, you can put in the chat box or you can ask me. Just give me 1 more minute to give attendance. attendance link I have posted on in the chat box. Please fill it. But still you can leave the room. If there is any problem, please ask. At least few questions. No question. Either you got each and everything or you did not get anything. These two cases are possible.